Graduating from the Harvard Graduate School of Education was one of my proudest moments. However, as a first-generation low-income applicant, I did not have the resources or the people to help me gain successful admissions into Ivy League master programs such as the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So in this video, I am going to share with you 8 tips that helped me get into the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Tip number 1 is to connect with the institution. One of the key things to getting accepted into Harvard Graduate School of Education is really understanding who they are looking for as applicants. And so the best way to do this is by connecting with HGSE. They provide numerous ways that you as a prospective applicant can connect with them. These different modalities are in person or online. You can watch previous webinars, and they actually have specific webinars for different groups of people. If you're low income, if you're first generation, if you come from a minoritized background, if you're a parent, if you're international, they have an online webinar for you that's curated for you. So go watch those. You also want to explore the website very thoroughly. Everything you need to know about the Harvard Graduate School of Education is literally on their website. So do your research and get involved, get connected to HGSE's current students, alumni, and admissions representatives. They also have a blog. You can go on campus. Surprisingly, they also offer fellowships and grants to help you get to Cambridge to go to some of their open house experiences or other different recruitment events that they host. So go on their website and find these opportunities so you can get yourself to campus and really get to see in person what their environment like and if it's going to be suitable for you as a prospective student. Similar to this, you also want to understand HGSE's mission, and you want to make sure that you play to that mission throughout your application. So let's go see what HGSE's mission is. So HGSE's mission is, the mission of the Harvard Graduate School of Education is to prepare education leaders and innovators who will change the world by expanding opportunities and outcomes for learners everywhere. We're an institution committed to making the broadest impact possible, putting powerful ideas and evidence-based research into practice. So what I want you to do when you are considering applying to HGSE is I want you to look at this Welcome to the Harvard Graduate School of Education, where you will be able to see their mission and how they do that and a little bit more about HGSE. But I do want you to focus on their mission and learn about some of the key things that you should be including in your statement of purpose and throughout your application. So for example, they use words like education leaders, innovators, change the world, evidence-based research into practice. So theory into practice. So those are signifiers to you as an applicant to utilize those words in your statement of purpose or throughout your application. You want to make sure that you are showcasing to them how you're going to become the next education leader, the next innovator, how you're going to be using evidence-based research, evidence-based theory to make sure you impact the world and change the world. So that's why it's important for you to be able to know what this mission is, so you can in turn use that mission to your advantage in your application. All right, in line with this, you want to also gauge who studies at HGSE. They actually have a web page that says who studies at HGSE. This is going to give you a general idea of who they're actually looking for, and that's going to give you a better idea of how to structure your statement of purpose, your CV, the other components of your application. So let's look at who studies at HGSE. So at the top in bold, they say teachers, entrepreneurs, engineers, doctors, lawyers, and artists. HGSE students defy a single mold, but share a singularly vital goal: to make a difference through education. This statement alone here tells you as a prospective applicant that anybody can get into HGSE, regardless if you are already in education or if you're changing career paths. But they do state that you have to showcase how you want to make a difference through education, and you have to show evidence that you have already already attempted to do this in your current experiences. So if we look more down on this webpage, we see the 2023-2024 entering class. And so they showcase that the residential master's in education students, they accepted 632 across all their programs. For their online master's programs, they accepted 93 students. For their PhD, they accepted 24. For their Doctor of Education Leadership program, their EDLD program, they accepted 18. And then for their Certificate of Advanced students, they accepted 9. And so this gives you a general idea of how competitive it is to get into certain programs, right? As you can tell, the PhD programs and the EDLD programs are more competitive than maybe the master's programs, but I'm not saying that they're not competitive as well, but they do accept more students in their variety of programs that they offer. Then they showcase their gender identity, their geographic distribution, their international students. It's almost at 50%, but I do want to put emphasis on that they almost serve every single state in the United States, or their students from every single state in the United States, and there is a bunch of international students. So again, this ties back to Harvard is really looking at building their class that includes people from all over the world, all across the United States. So when you are writing your statement of purpose, for example, make sure you highlight where you are from, because as you can tell, they want to build a class with different perspectives, different experiences, and that takes a diverse class from all over the world, all over the United States. They also state that their students of color are about 55%. First generation college student status is 31%, and first generation graduate students is 50%. As you can tell, they really appreciate the first generation college student experience. So make sure you're including these signifying identifiers in your statement of purpose. They also showcase their LGBTQ plus percentage, which is 21%. So showcase who you are in your application, especially your statement of purpose. I'm not going to go through every single stat that they share here, but they do also share your age range and years of work, just to kind of give you an idea of which students are in which program. But I'm mentioning this as a tip for a couple of reasons. So one of them is because I want you to kind of gain confidence that anybody can get into HGSE, but also take all of these different percentages and try to use them to your advantage, especially when you're writing your statement of purpose. You know, in that statement of purpose, you're able to describe more of who you are. And so I want to make sure that you are evoking your identities when you're describing your experiences, because they truly do matter, and HGSE does truly value who you are as a person. And this right here, this webpage right here, shows you that you are valued, that your voice is valued, your experience is valued, who you are matters in the context of HGSE admissions. One of the most important tips that I do want to give you is that throughout your application, especially your statement of purpose, you want to develop what we call a through line or a theme that permeates throughout the application. So what does this mean? A through line or a theme means that you have some type of unique aspect to your application that is at the forefront of every component of your application. So for instance, when I applied to HGSE, I wanted to showcase my unique experience. So I talked about me being a first generation student, a low income student, a student from rural Washington state, from farm worker background. I used these different identifiers and created a theme that permeated throughout my application, because I knew that not that many applicants were going to be from rural backgrounds, that were going to be from a student of color perspective, from this rural context, that were going to be from farm worker backgrounds. And so I used that to my advantage, and I made sure that that was apparent through my statement of purpose, my CV, my letters of rec, my entire application, because I wanted to showcase my unique voice and what I was going to bring to the HGSE cohort, community, and campus. So make sure that you are showcasing your unique point of view and that you hone into a theme that's going to be apparent throughout your application. Do not make your application super broad. Like I mentioned before, when we saw who studies at HGSE, they want a diverse class. They want diversity in their cohorts, in their programs, at the institution. So make sure you hone in on your uniqueness and use that as a theme that is going to be showcased across your application. You also want to showcase evidence that you are already changing the world, that you are already impacting students and communities through education. So this can be showcased in your CV and your statement of purpose. So you want to fully describe the experiences, the formative experiences where you have taken initiative to either develop programs, develop innovative ways of doing things to impact students in your community. So make sure that you are showing evidence that you are already impacting the world. In your application, it is important for you to showcase why you need to be at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. On the website, they have a web page that's titled Beyond the Classroom. And so what I want you to do is I want you to explore this web page and dictate which resources you want to take advantage of when you are a student at HGSE. One thing that I do want to caution you of not to do is include every little thing that's on their website. HGSE has a bunch of great resources, but as an applicant, it is your job to tell the committee which 3 to 5 resources are going to help you gain the skills and knowledge you need to achieve your goals. And so you have to be very intentional in describing which resources you want to take advantage of. I typically recommend prospective applicants to write in 2 to 3 courses that they want to enroll in. When you do this, you want to name drop the course, who's the professor that's teaching it, and why that course is important for you to take when you are there. What are you going to gain from that course, whether it's knowledge, practical experience, or anything else? Write that in your statement of purpose. Then you want to select another 3 different resources that you want to take advantage of that are going to prepare you to become the next education leader, the next innovator in your sector. So you can talk about the Ask With forums, you can talk about the Education Now broadcasting series, you can talk about seminars, you can talk about Harvard Education Press, you can talk about Harvard Innovation Labs, the Education Entrepreneurship Summer Fellowship, you can talk about Hive. When you describe each one of the resources, you always want to follow up with describing how that experience, that resource is going to help you achieve the goals that you are going to write in your introduction to your statement of purpose. And then finally, I want you to write in 1 to 2 professors who you want to be mentored by. If you get accepted to HGSE, you're going to be assigned an academic advisor who's going to be a faculty member in your program. That faculty member is going to be your point of contact and who you're going to meet with at least 1 time per semester to talk about classes, to talk about careers, to talk about the field, to basically be your mentor. So you want to tell the committee who you want to be mentored by, and it should be someone whose research closely aligns with yours. The next tip that I have is that you don't need a perfect application. And I'm mostly referring to a perfect GPA and perfect GRE scores. In the past, in the Who Studies at HGSE, they used to put the average GRE scores. They took it away now because I'm guessing that GREs are optional now. But back in the day, that used to stress people out. But I do want to tell you that HGSE does not solely focus on the metrics. As long as you have a 3.0 GPA or higher, you're already competitive. If you have a master's degree, then your undergraduate degree doesn't really matter anymore because you already have a master's. They already know you can do graduate level work. The GRE scores, for example, if you have low GRE scores, make sure that you offset those low scores by highlighting your strengths in reading and writing. Remember, in graduate school, you're going to be reading and writing a lot. So you want to showcase to the committee how you're a strong critical thinker and reader and how you're a strong writer in different aspects of your application. When I was applying to HGSE, I had really low GRE scores. And so I thought that I wasn't going to get in because at that time, I applied back in 2015, it was mandatory. But my strategy was to offset those low GRE scores by showcasing that I do have strengths in reading, writing, and math, which is what the GRE really assesses you by. And so I highlighted my math and research, my quant grades that I got for my degree, for my undergraduate degree. And then I highlighted my research experience. I highlighted that I was strong in writing because my undergraduate institution had a junior writing portfolio and I passed that with distinction. So showcasing that I'm a strong writer. And so I offset the low GRE scores by showcasing other aspects of my application that targeted those areas that were strong. The final tip that I have for you is to review the application early. So at this point, you should have already opened up and registered for the application for an account. I want you to go through the entire application and see what HGSE wants you to submit. There are certain areas of the application that, I didn't know until I registered for an account. So for example, they have an additional information section. They also have a section where you can talk about your GPA. It does that GPA signify who you are as a scholar. And so I didn't know about these different sections in the application until I registered for an account. And so what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you complete every aspect of the application, including those sections that allow you to explain a little bit more about your academic, who you are personally, your work experience, etc. You want to make sure that you don't take that lightly. You have to be strategic with every part of your application, including the actual application. In the additional section part of the application, if you are an undergraduate student, you can write things on what you're going to be doing in the spring semester or spring quarter, in the summer, how you're not going to stop doing the work that you like to do because you already applied to grad school. So showcase that you're still committed, showcase that you still care about educational issues by sharing your spring semester and summer work. In these sections, you can also share if you had a low GPA and why you had that low GPA. You could also share maybe things that they didn't ask in the rest of the application that you want them to know for sure. And so you can include these type of things in your entire application. But I do want to make sure that you complete the application in full to the best of your ability, because this entire application is your interview. HGSE does not have an interview process. And so this entire application is your interview. And so you want to make sure you bring your full self to the entire application. All right, scholars. So that concludes my video on 8 tips that I have for you to get into the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I hope this video really gave you the confidence and the insight to be a competitive applicant. If you are interested in learning more strategic ways to get into the Harvard Graduate School of Education, I suggest that you look at my playlist over here where I share all of my materials, including the statement of purpose, my resume, a bunch of tips on how I got into the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.